Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A warm welcome to yet another session of Weekend with Wisdom. This is Nitin Sridhar. Let me begin with a small prayer. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Shri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Srinivasan ji, can you just stop the screen share for a while? Then you can just stop the screen share. Yeah. Okay. Namaste again, everyone. Today's session is the third and concluding session of this Weekend with Wisdom by Shri Srinivasan Iyengar ji, who is joining us from Mumbai. This is on a very important topic of Maya, the power of Ishvara. And he has been telling us about what Maya is and how to get out of this Maya, the more crucial question for the last 2 days. And he will be shedding more light in today's session. Sri Srinivasan ji has had a very long career, 30 years career in India, Middle East and Singapore in various senior management roles. And he is a chartered accountant in India, and he is also a chartered financial consultant in US. And on the spiritual side, he has been studying and teaching Bhagwad Gita, Bhagwatam, Vivekachoodamani and various Vedanta texts. He has been taking personality development and leadership courses and workshops and so many things for the past many years. So we are very fortunate to to listen to these talks from someone who knows the best of the both worlds, so to speak, the Dharmika worldview as well as the current materialistic professional worldview, so to speak. Very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you again for doing these sessions. Please go ahead and start your session. You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Jai Shri Krishna and Charan Sparsh to all the audience who's assembled here and also the audience that is going to join on Skype later. Thank you very much for sparing a time to listen to this. What I found was an amazing topic, and I must thank Nitin ji for asking me to speak on this topic, because I surely learned a lot, and it was a superb experience for me personally in terms of revising and re-revising all the wonderful text that is there on this topic called Maya. So how did we start with this? As usual, I'll do a quick intro to what we did in the past 2 days. Then we will move on to what we are going to do today. So we saw what is Maya. And for that, we saw the definitions from various texts like Vivekachoodamani, like Panchadashi, Vivekachoodamani. We saw that Maya is avidya, it is without beginning, it is trigunatmika, that it is to be inferred by the effect Maya produces, and it's Maya that brings forth this whole universe. Then in Panchadashi, we looked upon Maya as being three things. People, for the realized soul, it is tucha or negligible. For the sadhaka, it is anirvachani or indefinable. And for the ordinary people, whom we classed as people who have not had the good fortune of coming to satsang and attending satsang, for them Maya is real, right? Then we talked about this wonderful definition in Vedanta Sara, which we talked about the definition of Maya again. And again, it is following the same definitional roots of Vivekachoodamani and Panchadashi, so we won't repeat it. Bhagwad Gita, we saw 7:14, Devi Hesha Gunamai Mama Maya Durutya, where Lord says it is my Maya, it is very difficult to cross, it is my power, he says, right? And then we saw from Bhagwatam 11th canto, Raja Nimmi's conversation with the Navayogis, where one of the Navayogis, Antariksha, talks about Maya as the Trigunatmika again, but also the amazingness of Maya, that it is the power that creates, maintains, and destroys this whole universe. Yeah. Then Eknathi Bhagwatam, we saw Maya is equal to our flight of our imagination. We saw that. And then Ramcharitmanas also, we saw beautiful definition of Rama in Lakshmana Gita and Aranyakanda, where Rama says the feeling of I and mine, you and yours is Maya, and it holds sway over all created beings. And whatever is perceived by the senses and whatever lies within the reach of the mind is Maya. Then we saw our own understanding of Maya as well. What does Maya do? We took our help from Maya Panchakam. It creates this wonderful distinction of Ishvara Jagat, Jeeva Jagat Ishwara. And we saw what are the problems because of this division, what problems occur. We saw that in great detail, how the Jeeva feels alpa and therefore tries to get its happiness from the world very unsuccessfully and tries and tries and tries. But unless this Jeeva Jagat Ishwara is dissolved into the pure Parabrahman, the permanent happiness is not available for the Jeeva. And then we saw how, despite reading Vedas and Upanishads, if it has not been implemented in our lives, then we are no better than four-legged animals being tempted by wealth and possessions. We saw that wealth and possessions were only symbols of Vedas. Then we saw the next part of Maya Panchakam, where he said that Maya is it that throws us into this whirlpool of existence, birth and death. We saw birth and death from one perspective, which is the birth and death that we all know about, but also the birth and death of desires. Right? Both are samsara. Then Maya, which is skillful, what it does, it creates a distinction in that which has no distinctions. Varna, ashrama, color, caste, everything it creates. Then finally we saw that it creates Harihara Bheda, where there is no Harihara Bheda. And then finally in verse 25 of chapter 7, we saw how the Lord himself says that veiled by my Yoga Maya, I am not available to the ignorant. So though the Lord is in Anurenu Tarnakashta, is there in the whole universe, but still is not. This is what Maya does. Is there a way to deal with Maya? We saw many parts. First part we saw was from Vedanta Sara. We saw two parts here. And that we said is very important, though not related to the topic. It doesn't straight away relate to the topic called Maya, which we're dealing with. But it is very important to understand who can deal with Maya. Right? And therefore, the adhikaritva has to be clearly understood. And therefore, we said a competent student is required. Who is a competent student? Who has a general understanding of the Vedas and Vedantas. Doesn't mean he has a detailed understanding. He has a general understanding, and therefore he has a better understanding of what life is. Then he is doing his karma as per Vedas in a very diligent manner, thereby purifying his mind and ridding himself of sins. And then he has sadhana chatushtaya. We saw what sadhana chatushtaya was: viveka, vairagya, shat sampatti, and mumukshatva, of which we said that mumukshatva is the most important. Such a qualified pupil who doesn't have pride of any of these qualifications of his, we said, when he feels the real thirst for the Guru, how like the person's hair is on fire and how quickly he runs to a source of water to put out that fire. Like that, he should run towards the Guru, and then he serves him, and he lives with such a Guru for gaining Brahmagyan. We also said that whilst the competency of the student is described in a very high manner, different competencies mean that we will progress at different speeds. That's all it means, right? We also said that this definitions which we got. Then we saw Bhagwad Gita, where we saw Devi Hesha Gunamai, and then he gives a solution here. He says, those who constantly adore me, alone cross. This is what constantly we talked about. As to how do we do this constantly, is we said that it's very natural for the mind to go towards Vastu, Vyakti, and Parasiti. Right? Into the world, the mind naturally goes. But to fix it on God requires effort. Therefore, the Lord says in verse 26 of chapter 6, that this restless mind sorry, my internet connection dropped for a minute. Apologies for that. I will share screen again. Yeah, there you go. Am I audible, Nitinji?
Yes, Srinivas ji, audible.
All right, great. So we saw that one's own friend one becomes by conquering the body, mind, senses, and we said conquering of body, mind, senses means being able to deploy it where we want to deploy it, when we want to deploy it, right? If you're able to do that, then we'll be able to draw the restless mind from the objects and place it on God. If we place it on God and repeatedly place it on God, then we'll be able to constantly adore Him, and therefore we'll cross Maya. So we went from down to up. Then we saw the next part of this, how to get rid of Maya, from Bhagwatam, Canto 11, where the detailed answer given by Pipalana Rishi for the question, how do ordinary people who have not got any self-control, how do they get rid of Maya, was the question asked. And for that question, we saw the various things. And first thing, we saw that worship of Guru is most important, because without that, we won't develop an apathy towards sense objects, and we won't acquire the traits of a good disciple. Then we won't become antarmukhi, we won't have a taste for nama, we won't connect with God. We have to use every minute for devotion to God. Now God resides in the heart of the devotee, and therefore Maya runs away from such a devotee. Right? In conclusion, he was told that you follow the Bhagavata way of life, and then you will easily cross over Maya. Verse 33 of chapter 11, Canto 11, chapter 3. So this we saw from the Bhagavatam. Very important part, because we said that this is described in a great deal of detail in Eknathi Bhagwatam as well. Right? And we said people should purchase this book of Eknathi Bhagwatam, written by Vivekachoodamani. It's a very profound exposition on the 11th canto by Eknath Maharaj, who is a great saint of Maharashtra. And it's worth a read. It's a pretty big book, 1,500 pages, but it's worth a read. It's an amazing read. In fact, if you ask me, it's one of the best books I've read. So we talked about this part of the Maya, how to deal with it from a perspective of Bhagavatam. Then we went on to see Ramcharitmanas, where, if you recall, Rama had talked about Maya, and then he says that the real path for ordinary people is devotion. He says it's incomparable, it's only acquired by the favor of a saint. We saw. Then we said the means to acquire devotion is you have to cultivate devotion to the feet of a Brahmana, right? And you need to do your Swadharma as laid down in the Vedas. You need to do both of them. And this will lead to aversion of sense pleasures and engender a love for devotion. Navida Bhakti will become steadfast, and you will develop extreme fondness for his sports, meaning the type of conversation where we are constantly talking about the Lord, that will bring extreme delight to us. Then Rama says that the devotee should see the Lord as the father, mother, friend, brother, everything, all in all, and be steadfast in his seva to him. And we saw very clearly that this seva is not only about doing seva to the Lord in the form of the Lord in the altar or Lord in the temple, but it is also to see the Lord in Anurenu Tranakashta. In everything there is, you see the Lord, and through seeing the Lord everywhere, you now do his seva by doing Manav Seva. Manav Seva is Madhav Seva. And then when we do seva like this, the heart gets purified. When singing his glories, there is a thrill, horripilation in our body. Tears flow through our eyes. And therefore, he says, I ever repose in the lotus heart of a person who in thought, word and deed depends on me and worships me in a disinterested way. We saw this disinterested way is very important, because generally we are praying to the Lord with purchase order, meaning we have got a purchase order to the Lord. I want this, I want this, I want that. Do this, and I will have 21 coconuts broken for you, and so on. Right? So we said that disinterested way means we pray to God for God. If we pray to God for the world, then we are not praying to God. We are actually praying for the world. We are not praying for God. We are praying for the world only. Even though we are praying to God, we are praying only for the world. Right? So we said it is not possible for us to stop praying for health of our loved ones, or stop praying for the wealth, or for promotion, or for marriage of somebody, or for good school admission of somebody. We can't stop praying that. But what we can do, add a little bit of request to the God for bhakti and jnana as well. In addition to the God for bhakti and jnana, if the Lord will give us bhakti and jnana, which will give all these effects, right? Okay. Then comes Bhagwad Gita chapter 10 verse 11, where the Lord says, in order to shower my grace on them, I dwelling in their heart dispel the darkness of ignorance by shining the light of wisdom. We took this verse up from chapter 10 verse 11 because we see from Bhakti that the Lord is constantly saying, whether it be in Ramcharitmanas, my screen sharing is gone. I'm still audible, right? I'm hoping. Am I still audible?
Yes, Srinivas, but your voice is little going in and out at times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can change my internet connection and see whether that works. Give me 2 minutes. Yeah, let us try this now. And you let me know whether this still causes a problem. Yeah?
Sure.
Let's see.
It is much better.
Oh, yeah, this is better?
Yeah.
Okay, let's wait and watch. Cross our fingers. Jai Shri Ram. Let's pray to Ram that he comes and showers grace on us. So the Lord says that in order to shower grace on my devotee, I dwell in their heart, dispel the darkness born of ignorance, and by shining the light of wisdom. So therefore we saw both in Ramcharitmanas, he says, I repose in the heart. In Bhagwatam also, he says, I am in the heart of the devotee, and the devotee easily crosses Maya because I am in his heart. Maya runs away from his heart. So I picked up this verse of Bhagwad Gita to say the Lord himself assures us that once he is bestowing his divine grace on us, then we will see that he is in our heart, and when he is in our heart, he shines the light and we are rid of Maya completely. So that's what I wanted us to talk about. Then we saw this wonderful part of Narada Bhakti Sutra, where we talk about Kastarati Maya, verse 46 to 50 of Narada Bhakti Sutra. We saw that Narada Bhakti Sutra has 84 aphorisms. They are all sutras. So they are very telegraphic like, very short sutras, but very effective sutras, very beautiful sutras. We said we will take this up in a little bit more detail as compared to the pretty rapid thing that we did yesterday. So I would like to, so what Narada does is he gives us 12 means, 12 ways in which we can cross Maya, right? Are these all independent of each other? Are they dependent on each other? Is there any sequence in which these need to be done? The answer is there is no sequence in which these need to be done. They can all be done together. There is no independent value to each one of them such that we have to do this first or that second. We can do all of them together depending on our liking for any of these sadhanas. Because like a pearl necklace, right? If you pick up one pearl, you get the whole necklace, isn't it? Like that, if you pick up one quality and you completely stay with that quality, then you'll find other qualities also start appearing in ourselves. So, Satsangan Tyajati, one who gives up attachment to Vastu Vyakti Parasthiti. This is an important part to discuss here. And the part to discuss here is many a times people don't come to Satsanga, people don't join spiritual studies or Adhyatma because they've been told that you have to give up a lot, right? So for example, a person went to a guru, and I think I told the story yesterday, but worth repeating, is that the person went to a guru and said, please accept me as your disciple. So the guru looked at him and asked him, do you drink? He said, yes, sir, I drink sometimes. Do you smoke? He said, when I drink, I smoke. Do you go partying? Yes, sir, I go partying sometimes. The guru said, stop drinking, stop smoking, stop partying. So that wait, he started writing, stop drinking, stop smoking, stop partying. 1 hour, the interview went on. And by the end of the hour, there were 26 things the disciple had to give up. The guru had told him to stop so many things. So he had to give up 26 things. So he looked up the guru and he gave up the guru, because it's easier to give up the guru, one item, than to give up 26 things. So we typically come into the satsang path or adhyatma thinking that we have to give up everything. And here's this verse that says, Sasangam Tyajati, meaning you have to give up attachment. So it seems to suggest that we have to live the life of a pauper, and richness is not equal to adhyatma. Nothing like that. See, if we had not been in financially comfortable circumstances, we would not have been sitting in a house comfortably, sitting with AC on and with internet on and with a laptop and doing this session. Not possible, right? So what does it mean to give up attachment, right? What does it mean to give up the sense of minus and become selfless, right? What does it mean? Yo loka bandhan unmulayati, meaning one who takes up attachment to this world by its roots. These three seem to be in the same ballpark. See, sangam tyajati, nirmamo bhavati, and lokabandhanu, bandham unmulayati. These three seem to be in the same ballpark. So what do they mean actually? Do they mean that the spiritual person has to give up a lot of things? The answer is no. We cannot give up anything because it is not in our mindset to give up things. So again, internet flickered a bit. I'm hoping that the screen is still visible. Sorry about that. Internet flickers here a bit. Okay. So the mother has to feed the teddy bear for the purpose of feeding the child. Teddy bear, and then the child opens his mouth. The mother has to take the teddy bear into the bathroom for bathing the child. The teddy bear has to be put to sleep for the mother to sleep as well, for the child to sleep. So the teddy bear is be all and end all of life. Then what happens? We grow up a little. And when we grow up a little, we find that the tricycle has come, tricycle. So we pick up the tricycle. Now tricycle is life. Mother is running after me. Homemade gym is available for the mother. She runs after me, feeding me when I'm sitting on the tricycle. Tricycle is parked outside the bathroom when I'm taking bath, etc., etc. What happened to the teddy bear? Teddy bear has gone on the settee. It has gone on the drawer shelf. It is just sitting there, right? Did I make any big tapa that I am doing this tapas, I am going to give up the teddy bear, I am going to start giving? Nothing of that sort. I just took up the tricycle. The teddy bear dropped off its own. Now I grew up a little and I got a bicycle, right? What happened to the bicycle? Did I again have to take some pran? Did I have to take some vow that I will stop using the tricycle? No, the tricycle dropped off its own. I picked up the higher, namely the bicycle. This is the course of life. When you pick up the higher, the lower will automatically drop. You don't have to do anything about it. You won't feel sad. The child never felt sad about giving up the teddy bear or the tricycle because it had picked up the higher. Similar it is, sangam tyajati, nirmamo bhavati, yo loka bandham unmulayati. These three mean that I can have all the possessions of the world, but no possessiveness about them. I will repeat. We can have all the possessions in the world, but no possessiveness about them. Think. There were two Sufi saints in a village. One Sufi saint was extremely poor, extremely austere, great tapascharya. All he had was a kamandalu. That's all. And he used to live under a tree. No house also. He used to take bhiksha, eat whatever bhiksha came inside his small kamandalu and sleep under the tree. Rain or shine, he used to be under the tree only. In the same village was another Sufi saint. This Sufi saint had a lot of rich followers. So the rich followers had made a silk tent, a silk rope for the tent, and the silk rope was hammered into the ground with golden pegs, right? Inside the tent was silk gadda, and he himself had silk ropes, and they had the best of food available for the Sufi saint. So these two Sufi saints lived in the vicinity of the same village. So the Sufi saint who had great tapascharya, who was sort of having only a kamandalu with him, constantly felt that this other Sufi saint is a fraud. You know, living in such richness, even silk ropes are put into the ground with golden pegs. What is this? What Sufi saint is calling himself saint? So one day he couldn't take it anymore. He went to the Sufi saint, stormed into the tent and told him, "You're a fraud," he said. So the rich Sufi saint was very calm. He said, "What do you want me to do?" He said, "Come right now, we will walk towards Mecca." So the rich Sufi saint simply got up from where he was sitting and said, "Let's go." He was very surprised because he never expected that answer. So he started to walk with him, right? And after walking for an hour, he suddenly said to the rich Sufi saint, "Hey, stop. I have to go back." Why? Because I've left my kamandalu under the tree, he said. So the rich Sufi saint told him that you had only one kamandalu, but the attachment, the possessiveness to that kamandalu could not go. Whereas you saw me living in silk tent with iron, golden pegs holding the tent in the ground, and yet those pegs were not in my heart, he said. I possessed many things, but no possessiveness about them. So it is only in our culture that a Raja can be a Rishi. King Janak was called a Raja Rishi. When he was King Janak itself, he realized himself. That is, that whole conversation between King Janaka and his Guru Ashtavakra is in this wonderful work called Ashtavakra Gita. Amazing, where the Bhagwad Gita drops off, Ashtavakra Gita picks up. Amazing conversation between King Janaka and his Guru Ashtavakra. But it is only in our culture that you will have a Raja as a Rishi. So what we have doesn't matter. How possessive of what we have alone matters. So when we say give up attachment, get rid of the sense of minus, and lokabandhan unmulayati, we say, what does it mean? It means give up possessiveness, not your possessions. So how do I know that I don't have possessiveness? Now when you talk about that, then it becomes necessary that you start giving of yourself and of your dhanam. Paropakarartam Shariram and Loka Sangraharta Hitam Dhanam. What is the purpose of Dhana? For Loka Sangraha, for service to society. What is the purpose of Sharira? For service to mankind. So I must learn. You see, Christians, Muslims all have particular percentages that they have to give. The Muslims have zakat, 2.5% of the wealth earned in the last year. 2.5% of the wealth, not income, wealth accreted in the last year, they have to give us zakat during Ramadan, so that money is used to feed the poor during Ramadan. The Christians have tithing, 10% of their income they have to give for charity. What about Hindus? Should we have or not? Absolutely, we must have. I ask all audiences where I go to, which do you like, 10% or 90%? Which do you like, I ask. 10% or 90%? Everybody says they like 90%, right? So I say, okay, 10% you don't like, right? That which you don't like, you give away. See, 10% of your income, you don't like 10%. Okay, that which you don't like, you give away. So when I conduct experiments like this on myself, by giving of my time for seva, by giving of my money to charities where I have no recognition, then I know whether possessiveness is there in me or not. Think. So those three don't mean that I have to be impoverished. Don't mean that the poorer you are, the more adhyatmically advanced you are. Nothing of that sort. The poor man might have a lot of desires and therefore not be adhyatmically forward at all. Whereas the rich man might have no possessiveness of his possessions like Janaka and might be reached already. So if we understand that, then we understand what our scriptures are talking about when we want to cross Maya. So you are surrounded by Maya, right? You are living in the world, true, but you are not of the world, for the world, by the world. Think. You are in the world, yes, but not of the world, for the world, by the world. Hindi में better आता है, दुनिया में रहना है, दुनिया के बनकर नहीं रहना. दुनिया में रहना, दुनिया के बनकर नहीं रहना. Then we are practicing these three things which was told by Narada Bhakti Sutra, sage Narada. Similarly, Yogakshemam Tyajati gives up all idea of acquisition and preservation. What does that mean? Does it mean that I should not go out and acquire groceries for cooking tomorrow? Does it mean that I should not go out and acquire vegetables for tomorrow? No, we can do all of that. But can we simplify our lives? See, that is the question that we have to ask. For one who gives up all ideas of acquisition and preservation, we can acquire and preserve for our needs, not for our wants. Acquire and preserve for our needs, not for our wants. Needs or wants, there is a large gulf, gap. Very large gap is there between needs and wants. What are needs? I need food when I'm hungry. That is a need. What is a want? The want is I need particular type of food. With the dal, I need particular type of vegetable. With the vegetable, I need particular type of chutney. So I must know 365 chutneys so that the chutney never repeats itself for the whole year once made. This is a want. See, need is what Sadhana Panchakam says. See, what does Sadhana Panchakam say about food? He says, Shuddha vyadischa chikitsatam. He says, Shuddha is a vyadi. Shuddha is a vyadi. Shuddha, hunger, is a vyadi, disease. Chikitsatam. You address it as a disease. How? Bhikshaushadham tu bhujyatam. He says, Bhiksha is the aushadhi for this vyadi called Shuddha. You eat Bhiksha, whatever comes to you in Bhiksha, eat that as aushadhi. Madhukari it is called. Well, we won't do Bhiksha now. We are Grahasthas. We can't start going and taking Bhiksha from outside. Bhavati Bhiksha, Dehi, all that we cannot do in cities. So what it means, whatever comes to my plate, silently eat it. If it is nice and good, comment on the person who has made it and say, Annadatta Sukhi Bhava, greatly made food. If it's not good, silently eat it. No problem. Bhiksha ushadam tu bhujyatam. And the third instruction that comes in Sadhana Panchakam is, Natu swadvanam yachyata. Don't search for tasty food. Swadvanam natu yachyata. So with these three instructions, we are given how to simplify our lives whilst living in the world. We are living at home. We have no requirement for this has to be with that, that has to be with this, this should be made like that should be made like this chutney should be made, that karam, all of that, fine. Whatever the person prepares, we are ready to eat. No problem. You're a vegetarian, you'll insist on vegetarian. That's about it. No other insistence is there. That's all. So if we simplify our lives, see, then we will start giving up ideas of acquisition and preservation as required by the world. Look, I used to work in corporate world in my past life, many years ago. And in that life, I needed to put myself in a position where I had variety of clothes. So my wardrobe grew and grew and grew because every year you are told by the fashion companies that this year it is purple shirt with yellow tie. Then next year it is yellow shirt with purple tie, right? That is the fashion. So you have to buy it. So I decided I'm going to get out of the game and I decided I will have 5 shirts, that is 6 shirts and 4 pants, of which 5 shirts are white and 1 shirt is blue. I'll have 15 ties, very good ties, but only 15 ties. That's it. And the 4 pants are all dark blue, dark gray, black and blue. That's it. So I simplified my wardrobe over a period of a year and a half. It took me a year and a half to simplify the wardrobe. But after that, life became utterly simple. Because after that, I laid down a condition. If I want to buy a new shirt, which can only be white or blue, right? I have to give away the old shirt. So my wardrobe never increased. So all ideas of acquisition and preservation disappeared. I brought my want to need. Of course, they were top quality shirts because my corporate life required it, right? But they were few. If I had to go on an 8-day trip, I knew I had to wash shirts. No questions asked. But it was okay. So giving up ideas of acquisition and preservation is to say that I want to give up these ideas of acquisition and preservation as instructed by the world. What does the world tell me? If you don't have the BMW 7 Series car, your life is waste. So somebody asked me, have you come by your own car? I said, no, I have come by my chauffeur-driven service in which there are 5,000 cars. He got shocked. He said, what 5,000 cars? He said, I have come by Ola or Uber. 5,000 chauffeur-driven cars at the tip of my finger. No problem. No need for my own car. See, you may have your own car if you wish, but I'm saying we can continuously look for simplifying our own lives. That we can only do if we redefine our success in a new manner. If our definition of success is what the world tells us, it will not be possible to simplify our lives. Impossible. Forget it. Because the world loves complexity. The world wants us to continuously be entangled with it. If you want to get out of it, you have to forcibly work on simplifying your life. Then only the ideas of acquisition and preservation will disappear, because we'll now be living with needs, not wants. Think. And on whom I should conduct these experiments? On my wife, on my father-in-law, mother-in-law? No, I should conduct all these experiments on myself. Forget about others. I can only change myself. I can only simplify my life. Think. Then the next two examples. Ya karma phalam tyajati, karmani sannyasati. See, one who gives up fruits of actions, prasada buddhi, and one who gives up all egocentric actions, Ishvara arpana buddhi. This is the essence of karma yoga. See, I am making tea, okay, and the tea has come out fabulously, and people are telling me your tea is the best, or I am making a presentation in the office and people are telling me your presentation is the best. How to give up that? They are praising me only, so how I cannot be happy? I have to be happy, no? Right? And the answer is yes, you have to be happy. No doubt about it. But what is the proportion of your contribution to it? We have to understand. Let's take the simple thing called tea, right? Which will make us clearly understand we don't live in an independent world. We live in a hugely interdependent world. So to make the tea, you needed water, right? That water came from your tap. So somebody made the tap. Somebody made the metal for the tap. Somebody laid the pipes. Somebody laid the big pipe to take the water to the Jalakumbha in your area. Somebody created a series of pipe networks and the metal for that pipe was made to take the water from the dam to the Jalakumbha. Somebody made the dam. The dam had to be made with cement. Somebody made the cement, the steel. Somebody created the design for the dam, and so on and so on and so on. So many people worked on it till you open the tap and water came for making tea. So there are thousands of people who can rightfully claim credit for the water that you used in your tea. Now take tea powder. Somebody planted the tree plant. Somebody had the land. Somebody planted the tree plant. Somebody grew the tea plant. Somebody put the chemicals for the tea plant. Somebody made the chemicals for making the fertilizer for growing the tea plant. And somebody plucked the tea. And somebody put them to the factory. And somebody made the machinery for that factory. And somebody made the steel for that machinery. And so many thousands of people worked to get that tea packet to your shelf. All those can claim credit for the tea packet. Ditto for sugar, ditto for milk. So, who made the tea? You made it. Yes, really? But there are thousands of people who can legitimately claim credit for that tea. You cannot deny them the credit. Once you apportion that wonderfulness of the tea to these thousands of people, what is left for you? Almost cannot see. Electron microscope you have to keep for seeing your credit. If I elevate my consciousness with regard to everything I do like this, that I am not an independent person, I am living in an interdependent world. Therefore, when I say I did it, I actually mean we did it. In Mumbai, we have Dayandi, Gopal, where they all climb on the shoulders of each other. And one small boy will climb on the shoulders of all and go up, and there is a pot, and he will break that pot. Dayandi, it is called. Now, that small boy who climbed on the shoulders of all the people and climbed right to the top and broke the pot, if he says, I was the only person who broke the pot, what will happen? All the people below will say, Acha, theek hai, we are moving away. You'll have to hang on that rope. You can't come down anymore. Think. So like that, we are standing on the shoulders of thousands and thousands of people. If we understand that, then two things will happen. The huge kartapana, the huge ego that I have, I am doing this, I am doing that, I am doing this, I am doing that. Without me, this is not possible. That will dissipate. Because factually, we will start seeing, I am not alone. Hundreds of thousands of people are responsible for the action, which I have only mixed 4 ingredients. That's all. And the second thing which will happen is when somebody praises me for that tea, I will know 100% of that praise is not mine. I am only a trustee for that praise. On behalf of the thousands of unknown people, to whom that praise should be passed on. So one who gives up fruits of all actions does not mean that you don't have any goals. You do have goals. When you achieve them, you know that you are not the only factor responsible for that goal to be achieved. So you're ready to share the fruits of your action with the wider society. I started with 10% above, right? There will come a time when you're giving 10%. There will come a time when you're giving 100% also. And rising above egocentric actions means you will never be able to say again, I did it, because you know now for sure enabled you to do it. Think. If we understand this, then ya karmani tyajyati and karmani sanyasyati is understood clearly. And tato nirdvandvo bhavati arises above pairs of opposites. See? Mana, apamana. How is it possible to rise above? Mana is very nice. Apamana is very bad. How can I rise above it? Think. So let's take an example. There is the mama from USA who is coming to India after 20 years. So he is going to visit all the relatives. Okay. So he is also going to visit you. Now you are hearing, because he is coming from south and he is slowly traveling west towards Bombay. Let's say he is going to visit me also. You are hearing from the other relatives that wherever the mama is staying, he is gifting everybody $5,000. Just like that, because he has come after so many years. He's been very successful in the US. He wants to reinstate connection with all of his relatives and he is so much in love with all of his relatives. He is giving $5,000 to every relative he is staying with. Okay. So let's take scenario 1. He's going to come to your house also. Scenario 1. Scenario 1 is you're yourself a crorepati. You got 10 crores in the bank and in fixed deposits and in various instruments. Right? Mama is going to come to your house. He comes to your house. Okay? He forgets to give the he has given $5,000 to everybody. He forgets to give it to you. Any problem for you? Because what is $5,000 for you? 4 lakh rupees? Zippo, you got 10 crores with you. The fact that he did not give you the $5,000 does not make you sad. He gives you $5,000. What is the big deal in that? You got 10 crores in the bank. $5,000 is nothing to you. So it's not as if you're ecstatic that you got $5,000. So you're neither ecstatic at receiving the $5,000 nor depressed in not receiving it. Agreed? Now you change the scenario. Mama is coming and you're eagerly awaiting. Your entire bank balance is 10,000 rupees. Means you're not very rich. You're a hardworking poor person. Mama is giving $5,000 everywhere. You're eagerly looking forward to meet Mama, but also $5,000 is in your mind. Mama comes, doesn't give $5,000 to you. You are extremely depressed because $5,000 would have meant a lot to you. 4 lakh rupees when you got only 10,000 rupees in the bank. If he gives you $5,000, you cannot prevent yourself from being ecstatic because suddenly you received a windfall of 4 lakh rupees. However much Gita you read, this will be the situation. What does it mean for life? It means that when I come to life already full, when I come to the game of life already full of what? Kritagnyata. Then with what more I receive or I don't receive, the impact will not be that much because I'm already coming full. I'm already 10 crores full. What to be Kritagnyata for? I can see, I can smell, I can taste. My oxygen saturation is 98%. See, my digestion is okay. I got saved from COVID. So much Kritagnyata for so many things. A billion things need to go right for me to sit here and speak to you. Those billion things are going right now. Therefore, I'm able to speak to you. Otherwise, I will not be able to speak to you. Impossible. Haven't you heard? People open their eyes and their eyesight is blurred. They run to the doctor. Doctor says retinal detachment. We can't do anything for you. See? Haven't you heard? The person wakes up and is getting a light fever. 5 hours later, oxygen saturation 90%. Rush to the hospital. Doctor says call relatives after 2 days. We have heard, no? Didn't happen to us. So great kritagnyata to the Lord. Lord, unasked, you have given me so much. Kritagnyata, kritagnyata, kritagnyata. Thankfulness, thankfulness, thankfulness. All the time thankfulness. For all that he has given unasked. Then when we come to the game of life like this, and the promotion that I wanted doesn't happen, I'll feel sad, but not depressed. Not for long I will feel sad. If I get the promotion, yes, I'll feel happy, but I will not go over the moon about it. I know that what comes goes, what doesn't come will come one day. I've risen above the pairs of opposites. Ultimately, when I become a sannyasi, I will rise above it fully. But at least the amplitude, I was going to be so sad and so happy. Now I will be so sad and only so happy. The amplitude of the wave is reduced. The depth of my sadness and the height of my happiness is reduced because I'm already very happy. Why? God gave so much without my asking. So we saw attachment as one set. We saw acquisition, preservation, and simplification of life as another set. We saw Karma Yoga as the third set. We saw Kritagnyata as the fourth set. And he says that when you do this, you will develop a continuous hankering for God. Develop a continuous humko Bhagwan chahiye, humko Bhagwan chahiye, humko Bhagwan chahiye, humko Bhagwan chahiye. See, the same unhappiness which I feel when I'm not getting the world, I should feel when I'm not getting God. Same unhappiness I should feel. That person will cross Maya, he says. Such a beautiful set of verses. I cannot, I can talk about this for the next 2 hours, but I won't. So we will move on from here. Now, after this, like I told you, how to cross Maya, how to get liberated and therefore cross Maya, how to do Karma Yoga and therefore purify the mind and therefore get liberated and therefore cross Maya, how to have devotion and therefore have the Lord in your heart and therefore have wisdom shone by the Lord in our heart and therefore cross Maya, is the topic of every single scripture. So for the next 1 year, we can do 2 2-hour programs and it will not be enough. Because every part of Bhagwad Gita, every part of Vivekachoodamani, every part of Panchadashi, every part of Bhagwatam is only pointing us in one direction. What is that direction? Live a God-centric life so that you can go across Maya. So having picked up from these various texts, now I picked up from Panchadashi, another text which I like, complex but good text. I picked up 2 or 3 small parts which are more accessible, readily accessible to most people. I've not picked up the technical parts. The non-technical parts of Panchadashi I picked up from a couple of chapters. Some parts I picked up to understand how to cross Maya. So let's see what those parts are. So the first part of it is this one, which says how Maya obstructs direct experience and what to do about it. Aparoksha Anubhuti is obstructed by Maya. Aparoksha Anubhuti is obstructed by Maya. What to do about that Aparoksha Anubhuti? What is Aparoksha Anubhuti? Direct practical experience. Paroksha Jnana means heard knowledge. Aparoksha Anubhuti means direct experience. So how to get this heard knowledge to convert into aparoksha? That's the purpose of Shravana. Paroksha Jnana has a purpose and that purpose is not Jnani. That purpose is Aparoksha Anubhuti. But it is obstructed. What to do about it? So because when Paroksha Jnana converts into Aparoksha Anubhuti, then I will be able to transcend Maya. Remember? So this is Paroksha Jnana. See? Paroksha Jnana. You heard about it. Now, if you want to practice it, you have to do that yourself, on yourself. Then and then only you will be having Aparoksha Anubhuti. Right? So now we are going to talk about Panchadashi gives the reasons for why Paroksha Jnana does not convert into Aparoksha Anubhuti and what to do about it. So let's discuss that a bit. Direct knowledge from Mahavakyas. What are these Mahavakyas? Prajnanam Brahma, Tattvamasi, I am Atma Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. These 4 Mahavakyas from the 4 Vedas are there. I am stating them in a particular order because I told you about that order a while back. This knowledge, even though I am hearing Prajnanam Brahma and Tattvamasi, it is not establishing itself in me as I am Atma Brahman and Aham Brahmasmi. Why? If I ask the question, then the answer is, what are the problems? Problems are contradictory texts are read, meaning I also read worldly texts. Then there is doubt about the knowledge. The numbers in the brackets are the verse numbers from Panchadashi chapter 7. This I picked up from Panchadashi chapter 7. So the 97, 99, 103, etc. you see is the verse numbers from Panchadashi chapter 7. I've made it easier for you to refer back to the original book if you so wish to. Of course, I've taken a bit of room for readership purposes. These may not be the exact words they are using, but this is the intent, right? Doubt about knowledge, entrenched doership. Kartapana is very entrenched. Or there is erroneous conviction. What is the conviction? That the body is the self and the world is real. Deho ayam iti jadasya buddhihi and jagata satyatva buddhihi. This is there. How it is there? Because of habit from many births. This problem is there. So how to get rid of the problem? What are the solutions? The solutions are given here. Repeated Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Repeated Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Shravana of what? Then we say, what is Shravana? The process by which one is convinced that Vedas teach Jeeva Brahma Aikyatvam. See? Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jeevo Brahma Ivana Paraha. See? Jeeva and Brahma are non-different. So one is convinced that the Vedas teach us there is Jeeva and Brahma Aikyatvam. And we do repeat, recall, enjoy of Shruti. Meaning we again and again read the Shruti Vakya. Again and again we are ready to do. That is repeated Shravana. What is repeated Manana? The process of establishing doctrine of non-duality. See? Advaita Vedanta doctrine established by reasoning which satisfies the intellect and refutes all possible objections. See how beautifully he puts it, Vidyaranya Swami. He says, don't have blind belief. He says, let the arguments satisfy your intellect and let us refute all possible objections, he says. And how it is possible? By deep manana, it is possible, he says. By deep manana, it is possible. Then Nididhyasana. What is Nididhyasana? One-pointed Nididhyasana arises from worship of Ishvara. Vedanta gives various types of worship for this. What is that? One-pointed meditation means, what does it mean? Tad chintanam, reflecting on it. Tad kathanam, talking about it. Anonyam tad prabodhanam, logical arguments about it, thus be fully occupied with it alone. So this is one-pointed Nididhyasanam. Tad chintanam, tad kathanam, anonyam tad prabodhanam. Where does this come from? These words are coming from Yoga Vashishta. Yoga Vashishta, beautiful conversation between Vasishta and Rama. Yoga Vashishta says these 3 words. Vashishta tells Rama, Brahma Abhyasa means tat chintanam, tat kathanam, anonyam, tat prabodhanam. That's what he says. And he says there should be an unbroken flow of thought on Brahman. Ananyas chintayanto mam means only this. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Ananyas meaning all the time. Chintayanto mam. What chinta it should be? About Brahman. Constant concentration on the mind to remove erroneous conviction. See, what is my conviction? That the body is real and that the world is real. Now the constant meditation should be body is unreal, world is unreal, Brahman alone is real. That should be the constant contemplation. Then the erroneous conviction gets reversed. Think. So let us move forward from this. What does it mean for me? Therefore, what am I supposed to do with this? Then we see the chapter 13, verse 83, where he talks about tat chintanam, tat kathanam, anonyam, tat prabodhanam, which we just talked about. He talks about it there. He calls it Brahma Abhyasa. This he calls Brahma Abhyasa. What is the constant chintana? About the mithya nature of Jagat, about Brahman being reality. See? This is also mentioned in the Bhagwad Gita as Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. See, chapter 7 and chapter 13 of Panchadashi talk the same language from different perspectives. He covers the same topic again and again. What is that? Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. When Brahma Abhyasa, not Ahayasa, when Brahma Abhyasa is done for Dirgha Kalaha, Nairantaryaha, Satkaraha, again from Yoga Vashishta. Sorry, this one is from Jivan Mukti Viveka. Dirgha Kalaha, long time, Nairantaryaha, continuously, Satkaraha, with great care. See? So, Jivan Mukti Viveka says Dirgha Kalaha. Then the question is asked, what is the Dirgha Kalaha? How long is long? Is it 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What is it? So, Vidyaranya Swami answers in Jivan Mukti Viveka, as long as it takes. For some it is 1 year, for some it is 10 years, for some it is 10 janmas also. Then Vidyaranya Swami talks about a fool who tells that my son went to read the 4 Vedas. My son went to read the 4 Vedas. It is 5 days now and he has not returned. It is 5 days now and he has not returned. How could he not return? Because 4 Veda hai. It should be done in 4 days. He said, don't be stupid like that, he says. This can take as long as it takes. Dirgha Kalaha. Nairantarya, it needs to be done continuously. And with great care, we need to do it. Great care meaning there should not be a fall back to our previous state of consciousness. Great care. We will talk about that in the next part. This is the way to change the vasanas which are firmly embedded due to considering the Mithya world as real over many lifetimes. We have considered the Mithya world as real over many lifetimes. So we saw 2 things from our reading of Panchadashi. One is what obstructs, how Maya obstructs Paroksha Gyan from becoming Aparoksha Anubhuti. What we should do about it. Repeated Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, Ananyas Chintayantoma. We saw what is Brahma Abhyas, right? And now we will see the third part, how to make the mind one-pointed in Brahma Abhyas. Because the mind needs to be one-pointed, because he's saying constant flow, no? So the mind needs to be one-pointed in Brahma Abhyas. How to make the mind one-pointed? He says mind cannot be chained like body. See, body can be chained, mind cannot be chained. So he says practice Shravana. Therefore, practice Shravana. What is that Shravana? Keep the mind entertained by many religious stories and other accounts. See, many religious stories. So time and again attend satsanga. Every day there should be satsanga. Every day there should be Guna Leela Vishesh of the Lord flowing in my mind. See, that is 1. 2, though many, meaning though you will attend many satsangs, they are not a hindrance, he says, to one-pointedness. Since they all talk of the self as pure consciousness and they talk about the illusory nature of the world. If you take authorized texts, not the newfangled spirituality, you know. There is even a book called Mahabharata through the eyes of Duryodhana. No point in reading it. You take authorized texts written by authorized saints, then they will all talk about the same thing. What is that? Self as pure consciousness, illusory nature of world. So though they are many, they're all giving the same message. Then what will happen? Once you do this, the purpose is to keep in the mind in the spirit. What spirit? In the spirit of Brahma Abhyas. The mind will be kept in the spirit of Brahma Abhyas. How? By these 2 methods. Many religious texts you're reading, and though many, they are not a hindrance. Then what he says? He says, what about my sleeping, taking food, etc.? He says they are routine activities. The spirit is not disturbed by them. Right? The spirit is not disturbed by these routine activities. Momentarily forgetfulness when we are eating, when we are sleeping, when we are walking about, doing our work. Momentarily forgetting about Brahma Abhyas is fine, he says. Yeah. It does not allow for intensification of erroneous conviction. So, what we need to do to stay alive, he says, continue to do. No problem. You don't need to fast. You don't need to stop taking bath, etc. You can continue to do. But, he says, be careful. On the other hand, for one engaged in agriculture, commerce, etc., mind does not dwell on the real entity when we are engaged in agriculture and commerce. Therefore, if we are excessively engaged in subjects other than Vedanta, what happens? We cease in the practice and there is a break in the practice, and this is a great obstacle, he says. Right? So what you should do? He says, keep the mind entertained by many religious stories. And though many, they are not a hindrance. See, we come right back to where we started. Instead of excessively engaging in subjects other than Vedanta, excessively engage with religious stories, other accounts, and satsanga. Then what happens? Therefore, through these practices, the Shruti says, know that one alone and give up all vain talk. Know that one alone and give up all vain talk. So we saw from the Panchadashi how Maya obstructs, how to remove that obstruction, what is Brahma Abhyasaha, and how to make the mind one-pointed. This we saw from Panchadashi. Now I have picked up, I think unfortunately, too many verses from Vivekachoodamani, because that also happens to be one of my most favorite texts. So I picked up many verses from Vivekachoodamani. On various parts of Vivekachoodamani, I picked up many verses which address this question of how to root out Maya. And Vivekachoodamani gives various perspectives on it. One perspective is root out the samsar rupi Maya, how to root it out. And Vivekachoodamani gives these beautiful, wonderful verses, 147 and 148, right? And I've got this wonderful book of Ramakrishna Mission. The translation is a free translation. It's not a word-for-word Sanskrit translation. It's more an interpretation of the verse by Swami Turiyananda. It's a beautiful book, Ramakrishna Mission's book, wonderful book. He says here, neither by weapons or by any scripture or by fire or by water can this tree of samsara be hewn down, nor by a million of different kinds of work. See? Nastrena, shastrena, chetum na shakyo, nacha karma koti bihi, he says. See? How it will come down, he says. Viveka vijnana mahasina vina. See? Without the presence of Viveka and Vijnana, you cannot cut down this Maya. You want to cut down Maya? You need Viveka and Vijnana. Knowledge and wisdom. Practiced knowledge, wisdom. Dhatu prasade, dhatuhu prasadena shitena manjuna, he says. This sword should be wetted by the grace of the Lord. Binu satsanga viveka nahi, Rama kripa bina satsanga nahi. So said Tulsidas, so also says Vivekachoodamani of Shankaracharya. In 148th verse, he says, one who is passionately devoted to the authority of the Shrutis acquires steadfastness in his Swadharma. Why? Because he does his Swadharma as ordained for his Ashrama Dharma. When he does his Swadharma, as per Karma Yoga principles, his mind becomes pure. In that pure mind, the Supreme Self is very clearly reflected. And when that Supreme Self is reflected in that pure mind, the samsara is uprooted, root and all. So one way that Vivekachoodamani talks about uprooting Maya is by uprooting the samsara from our mind. How? By the sword of discrimination. But that sword of discrimination needs to be sharpened by the grace of God. And that discrimination works only for the pure mind, and that mental purity is acquired by doing karma yoga, karma that is logical for our ashrama dharma. So this is one way in which Vivekachoodamani talks about. Another way in which it talks about is manonnasha and uprooting of Maya. It talks about the mind and how dealing with the mind we can uproot Maya. Two verses here, 169 and 174. Amazing, amazing verses these are. I'm going to read the Sanskrit part from the book here. He says, Nahi asti avidya manaso atirikta. Nahi asti avidya manaso atirikta. Other than the mind, there is no avidya, he says. Manohi avidya bhavabandha hetu. Manohi avidya. See, the Sanskrit is so mellifluous, so beautiful in Vivekachoodamani that it can be read even by a novice like me. I am not a Sanskrit speaking person, but even a novice like me can read this Sanskrit and get the meaning. Manohi avidya, he says, the mind alone is avidya. Bhavabandha hetuhu. It is the cause of bondage of bhavabandha, transmigration, bondage of transmigration. Tashmin vinashte sakalam vinashtam. See, when the mind is destroyed, all is destroyed. Vrijhambate asmin sakalam vijhambate. See, when it manifests, everything else, means the whole universe is manifested. So beautifully put. So the whole universe is a manifestation of the imagination of our mind. Now you remember OV 67 of Eknathi Bhagwatam, Maya is nothing but the flight of imagination of mind. Same thing is told by Shankaracharya 1000 years ago. 400 years ago, Eknathi Maharaj said. 1000 years ago, Shankaracharya says the same thing. And then in 174, he says, beautifully, Tasman Manakkarnam Asya Janto. He says the mind is the only cause that brings about bondage or liberation. Bandhasya mokshasya sacha vidhane. See? Chava vidhane. It is the cause that leads to bondage and liberation, he says. Bandhasya hetu malinam rajogunaihi. When rajoguna is malina, it leads to bondage. Mokshasya shuddham virajas tamaskam. When tamas and rajas are removed and pure sattva prevails, it leads to liberation. So beautiful. Amazing, right? Clear-cut path is given for us to get ourselves out of Maya into moksha. Think. Then there are a lot more verses on Manonnasha in the Vivekachoodamani, which I picked up, 181 and 182. What does he say here? Tan manashodhanam karyam prayatnena mumukshuna. He says the seeker after liberation must carefully purify the mind. Tan manashodhanam. See? Purify the mind, karyam, prayatnena, with great effort. Mumukshuna. The mumukshu should purify the mind carefully with great effort. And then he says, Vishuddha sati cha aitasmin muktihi karafalayate. Karafalayate. Liberation is easy when the mind is purified, like the fruit in the palm of the hand. See? Then 182nd verse. What does it say? Mokshasya saktya vishayesu ragam. Have desire for liberation alone, he says, not for anything else. Nirmulya sanyasya cha sarva karma. Nirmulya, again, root and branch, he says, take out all the selfish actions. Root out attachment to sense objects, he says. Give up all works in that direction. Then he says what? Sat shaddaya yes shravanadi nishtho. With great nishtha, you contemplate, you hear the scriptures, you contemplate on the scriptures, you meditate upon the scriptures, you practice what the scriptures are saying with great faith. Rajas swabhavam sa dhunoti buddhehe. He who does this gets rid of rajas and tamas and gains sattva quality in the intellect. So he says to purify the mind, because in pure mind, liberation is possible. We ask the question, how to purify the mind? He gives the answer in 182. He says, root out attachment to sense objects. Give up all works in selfish work direction. Don't do selfish work. Then be steadfast in faith, intent in hearing, contemplating, meditating upon scriptures. Do paye ka cycle. See, one is you get away from the world. And the other is, one you have gotten away from the world. And what you have to do, the other thing, you have to get closer to God. The cycle has two wheels, no? Then the cycle runs. See? One wheel is withdrawal from the world. And the pratyahara, as it's in the Ashtanga Yoga. The other is going towards Lord. How? By listening, contemplating, meditating upon the words of scriptures, getting rid of rajas and tamas, and being in sattva quality. Then the mind becomes pure. In that pure mind, liberation is possible. And then Manonnasha leads to uprooting of Maya. So two sets of verses on Manonnasha. One is the mind is the cause of bondage and you need to be in pure sattva. The second is purify the mind and how to purify that mind. Then we come to the next set of verses, which is destroy the ego, uproot Maya. This is the next set of verses. Destroy the ego and uproot the Maya. Because this is the other perspective. Like I said, Vivekachoodamani of Shankaracharya gives many perspectives on uprooting Maya. One is uprooting samsara and therefore uprooting Maya. One is Manonnasha, therefore liberation, therefore uprooting of Maya. The third one he says is destroy the ego and uproot Maya. What is ego? If you ask, then he answers that in 298th verse. Right? 298th verse. I will just open the page in my book, which I have here with me, and read that verse for you. He says, Santi Anye Pratibandhaha Pumsaha Samsara Hetavo Drishtaha, he says. See, there are many distractions for the individual which are the cause of worldliness. Then he says, Tesham Evam Moolam. Tesham Evam Moolam, meaning in that the real root cause. Prathamo Vikaro, the first modification, is Bhavati Ahankaraha. See, is the first modification of worldliness. First modification of worldliness, also first modification of Maya, is Ahankaraha. So, for the individual, there are many causes of distraction. But what is the first cause, primary cause? Ego. And where does ego come from? From Maya. Worldliness, Maya. The first modification of Maya is the Ahankaraha. So what we are supposed to do with this Ahankaraha? 304 very beautifully points out. It was very hard for me to choose the verses here because every verse in this part of the book seemed useful to me. But I had to be ruthless about choosing only some verses. Otherwise, we'll be here for the next 3 hours. So he says, Ahamo atyanta nivrittya tat krita nana vikalpa samahritya, he says. Then he says, when we have done away completely with this ego and destroyed the different kinds of distractions that arise from the ego, right? Tat krita nana vikalpa samahritya. Nana vikalpa. The various distractions that arise. When we have finished off all of them, then he says, Pratyak tattva vivekad idam aham asmi iti vindate tattvam. Then by discrimination of I am that, you can attain to the truth, he says. So beautiful, because he says the ego is the cause of the distraction. So if I vanquish the ego, then you can stay in the discrimination, I am that. See, then he warns us. Okay, if you have vanquished the ego, then what you should do? He says, Nigrahya Sarator Ahamo Avakashaha. He says, don't give any respite. How? Kvachinna Deyo Vishaya Anuchintaya. Vishaya Anuchintaya. Thinking of objects of senses. Do not go there again, he says. Why? Because he says, Sava Sanjeevana Hetur Asya. This thinking of objects revives the ego again. Just like the water is the cause of the revival of the lemon tree. See? So he says, uproot this ego, worldliness will go, Maya will go, then Maya will go, then Aham Brahmasmi, I am that thou art. Tattvam Asi, I am that will start to become evident in your mind. But having gone there, having started on this path, don't waste time thinking about the objects of senses again, because he says if you do that, you will be in a position where you will be distracted again. Okay? Then the question arises, okay, you've talked all this about ego, uproot ego, etc. But you have not told us, you have told us what happens when the ego is removed. You even told us what happens if after removing the ego, you go back to thinking about sense objects, you cause the revival of the ego and therefore of Maya. You have told us all that. But you have not told us, you will say, how to remove this ego, you have not told us. Okay, here comes Shankaracharya with beautiful verses in 313. What does he say? Vasana vriddhatah karyam karya vriddhaya cha vasana. By increase of selfish work, one increases desires, and by increase of desires, one increases selfish work. And then he says, Vardhate sarvata pumsaha samsaro na nivartate. Samsaro na nivartate. It doesn't stop. See, Vardhate sarvata pumsaha. For the person, Vardhate sarvataha. In all aspects, the world keeps on increasing. It never ceases. The entanglement goes on. Think about it. One selfish action leads to more selfish desires. One selfish desire leads to more selfish actions. I wanted 1,000 rupees. I got 1,000 rupees. But now I understand I want 1 lakh rupees. I got 1 lakh rupees. Now I understand I want 1 crore rupees. I got 1 crore rupees. Now I understand I want $1 million. See, selfish action increases selfish desire. selfish desire increases selfish action. Think, isn't that the story of our lives? Isn't this very pithy verse? Vasana vridhadati karyam karya vridhaya cha vasana. Isn't that very succinct sentence by Shankara a story of our lives? See, I talked about when we are going to be happy, just round the corner. This is the cause of that just round the corner happiness which we never achieve. Think, what does this have to do with the ego, sir? You told us, you will tell us how to uproot the ego. Why are you talking about selfish desire and selfish work and all that? Let's 316. What he says in 316, the ego is increased by these two. Which two? Selfish work and selfish desire. Sarvatra sarvataha sarva brahma matra avalokanaihi sadbhava vasana dardahat tat tarayam layam ashnute. See, the ego is increased by these two. One should seek the destruction of these, what? The ego and its two causes. What is the ego caused by? Selfish work, selfish desire. By meditating on the real self and seeing Brahman everywhere. And then this bold, bigger font item is added by Turiyananda ji. Very beautiful addition, very valuable addition. Not there in the Sanskrit sloka, but it is his interpretation. And he says these three go by increasing the desire of being good to others. Because when I'm seeing Brahman everywhere, it is me only everywhere. Naturally, the desire for doing good to others will increase. The consequence of seeing Brahman everywhere is being pointed out by wonderfully by Turiyananda ji. So, what have we seen? The last verse we'll see. When desire for being good to others increases, the desire for selfish fulfillments decrease. As when the sun rises, all darkness subsides. So beautiful. What is this desire for doing good to others? Sadvasana spurti vijrambate sati hi asau vilina api aham adi vasana. Aham adi vasana will become vilinaha. Subside. When sadvasana spurti vijrambate, when the sadvasana increases, just like the darkness is dispelled when the sun rises. So what did we see thus far? Very important to summarize. We saw in Vivekachoodamani, samsara rupi maya can be removed by the sword of discrimination, which should be whetted by the grace of the Lord. And for that discrimination to arise in our mind, we must purify the mind by doing our swadharma. And the man of pure mind will realize the Supreme Self, and therefore Maya will be uprooted from the mind. One perspective. Then another perspective we saw was manonnashaha. The mind, mana eva karanam manushyanam bandha mokshayoho, is Amrita Bindu Upanishad. Here it is written slightly differently, but the meaning is the same. Mind brings about bondage and liberation. How it becomes bondage? Vishaya saktaha. When the mind becomes attached to vastu vyakti parasthiti, then it leads to bondage. And vishaya saktam, it says it leads to liberation. Same thing is saying here. Effects of rajas, meaning attachment to vastu vyakti parasthiti, leads to bondage. When it is divested of sattva and rajas and tamas, and only sattva remains, then it is taking us towards liberation. And then we ask the question, okay, that is fine. You are saying that I must purify the mind, but how to purify the mind? If you ask that question, then we were told you must desire for nothing else. Give up the desire for sense objects. Give up selfish work. Be steadfast in faith, intent in hearing, contemplating of scriptures. Then you will get rid of the rajas and tamas and gain sattva. So the importance given was for satsanga and the shravana manana nididhyasana of the scriptures. No different to what we were told here. Remember, shravana manana nididhyasana. So different scriptures, they give the same answer in different ways. That's all it is. But it's very important to have these different ways understood, because that way we become more and more sure of the reality of the scripture and the unreality of the world. Then we saw that the doing away of the ego will also uproot Maya. And we saw that this ego is the first modification of Maya worldliness. And when we destroy it, it will disappear. Maya also will disappear. How to destroy it? By increasing the desire to do good to others, because that way selfish desires and work will subside like the darkness subsides when the sun rises. And then what happens? When that happens, he says the internal and the external universe will vanish, and one must watchfully stay in this witness consciousness of I am Atma Brahman. Then he warns us, saying that there is no greater danger for a jnani than carelessness about his own real nature. See, no greater danger, he says. Because from this carelessness, meaning if we allow Vastu Vyakti Paristhiti to intrude again, from this will come delusion, tato mohaha, tato egoism, aham. Again aham will come. And from there bandha will come, and tato vyata. See, the second part of this verse, tato mohaha, tato aham, tato bandha, tato vyatha. If we allow ourselves to be deviated from constant focus on our real nature, from there will come moha, delusion. From there will come ego again. From there will come bondage, and from there will come misery. So what we should do? Give up the reflection on sense objects, which is the root of all mischief. See, when we are living, we have to do this. See, if we don't do this, Yajur Samhita says that there is fear for us if we don't do this. So constant meditation on Brahman, Brahma Abhyasaha. This we saw here, right? This one. See, Tachintanam, Tatkadanam, Manonyam, Tat Prabodhanam, Ananya Sintayantumam also means this. Dirgha Kalaha, Nairantaryaha, Satkara also means this. So if you do this constantly and consistently and take our mind away from the Vastu Vyakti Paristhiti, whilst staying in the world, we will not become of the world, for the world, by the world. We will have many possessions, but no possessiveness. So, therefore, what will be the result if we practice all of this? The result will be this. Nashto mohaha smritir labdha prasadat maya achyuta. See, sthito asmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava, karishye vachanam tava. By your grace, my delusion has been destroyed, gained wisdom, free from all doubt, I will do your bidding. This will be the nature of our mind when we have understood what the scriptures have to say about Maya. I will not dare to say that I have spoken about how to remove Maya, because that is the whole world of scriptures. I will only dare to say that a very minuscule part of how to deal with Maya has been presented by me to you today. And I hope that that minuscule part helps you in your spiritual journey for moving forward, but also importantly, that that minuscule part helps you to kindle further interest in deepening our journey into spirituality. If you're interested in that, this is my contact email, cninachu, cninachu@gmail.com. Do connect with us. We have a satsang running for 40 years where we take multiple scriptures. For example, in Mumbai alone, we have 60 sessions going on in a week, right? So you want to be in this, then you need to connect to some or the other satsang so that you can do this dirgha kalaha, nairantaryaha, satkaraha. So with my charan sparsh to all the assembled audience here and my charan sparsh to the audience that will see this session later on YouTube, I rest my case here. The session back to Nitinji. If there are any questions, we can take them. Otherwise, we will move towards closure.
Thank you, Srinivasanji, for such a comprehensive introduction to Maya. A very fascinating, very mysterious concept. I mean, Maya herself is a mystery, and even intellectually, it is a mystery. So we have some questions. Viewers, you can keep asking questions, and we will take up as much as possible. One of the questions that has come up on YouTube, Srinivasanji, is that what is the purpose of Maya?
There seems to be no purpose to Maya, doesn't it? Seems purposeless. It is a difficult question to answer because Maya is said to be anirvachaniya. So such questions are difficult to hypothesize on, other than to say that it is the power of Ishvara for the purpose of the creation in which we find ourselves. Then if you ask what is the purpose of creation, then we will have to say the creation is a playground for the expression of the desires. Then if you say why there are desires, then I'll have to say that there is the ego within that created these desires due to the separateness that I felt from the oneness that is there. I felt separateness due to the ego. That created the desire. The desire had to be acted upon, and therefore this universe was created. And therefore the power of Ishwara Maya was instructed by Ishwara to create this universe. You can look upon it like that. So if you want to think about why Maya was postulated, you can bring it right back to ourselves and say, because there existed so many people, 7.5 billion people, whose desires required a particular type of universe to be created, right? For their desires to be executed in, right? Therefore, the power of Ishwara Maya created this universe for us. So if you think about it, if all 7.5 people became illumined together, never going to happen, because God is saying in 7.3, Manushyanam Sahasreju. In thousands, only some come, and some who walk, in the thousands who walk, only some realize. So never going to happen. But hypothesize that 7.5 billion people realize. Then is there a need for universe? No. There is no need for this universe, because there is no need for any further desires to be executed upon. The universe will disappear. Maya will become once again avyakta. See, avyakta meaning it will remain a power reposed in Brahman, cannot be seen by anybody, just like it happens at the time of pralaya. To take an example, clay is there. The power of the clay to become a pot is avyakta in the clay. This is from Panchadashi. The power of the clay to become a pot is avyakta in the. When the pot is made by the potter, when the karya is done and the effect is seen, then you say, aha, this effect, meaning pot, is the manifestation of the power in the clay to become a pot, which remains dormant till such time the clay remains clay. So till such time there is only Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vasishte. Only Brahman alone remains at Pralaya Kala. That time Maya is an avyaktini, not visible. But when Srijana happens again, when creation happens again, Maya also becomes Vyakta through the Srijana. Yeah. Hopefully that answers the question.
And that is a wonderful answer. I think I might add one perspective here. In some of the acharyas answered the question of why creation, why the need at all for Brahman, because of, ultimately Brahman does not have a desire. So I think some acharyas say Leela Kevalam. Leela eva kevalam. It's just a krida, it's just a game. It has no purpose at all. So it's a purposeful activity, or it's a swabhava itself actually. So I think that it's like asking why is sun having a race and a heat. So that question is itself without meaning. So another question we have is, what is the role of Ishvara? If Maya is there to confuse us, then what is the role of Ishvara?
The role of Ishvara is to be Maya Adipati. That is his only role. See, from a Maya perspective, it is to be Maya Adipati. But the other role of Ishvara is for us to enable a move from Jeeva Srishti to Ishvara Srishti. There are two Srishtis. Ishvara Srishti has no problem. That is Vidya Maya, right? Ishvara Srishti has no problem. It is the sun, the moon, the stars, the ocean, the mountains, the greenery, the trees, and all of that. No problem. Ishvara Srishti. Jeeva Srishti, big problem. Why? My and I. Mine. I, mine. I, mine. I, mine. Big problem. So the purpose of the existence of Ishvara is to be Mayadipati at one end, and at the other end is to enable to uplift ourselves from Jeeva Shrishti to Ishvara Shrishti. Advaita Vedanta doesn't stop there. It says once you move to Ishvara Shrishti, you have to move beyond Ishvara to Aham Brahmasmi. Because after all, Ishvara is only a reflection of Brahman and Shuddha Sattva. That's all he is. Right? So it moves beyond that. But we won't move there, because for me to contemplate moving beyond Ishvara now is a non-entity, non-starter. So if I move from Jeeva Shrishti to Ishvara Shrishti, meaning I live a more God-centric life. Brilliant. Kaam ho gaya. Yeah.
We have one more question. I am not sure what the question is. What is the difference between the duty as against Maya, as we have to do duty in the worldly life?
Yeah, see, duty towards Maya and duty towards worldly life are the same if both duties are informed by the Shastras. See, constantly we are being told that if you are doing your karma as per instruction of the Shastras, as instructed by the Guru, as instructed by Shastras, how? With Prasada Buddhi and Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Karma Yoga principles you are following for the purpose of doing karma, and you are doing karma appropriate to your ashrama. Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. Nobody wants to be Vanaprastha or Sannyasi now, by the way. Everybody wants to be a Grahastha forever. But that doesn't work. If we are doing karma appropriate for our ashrama, and we are doing karma according to Karma Yoga principles enunciated in chapter 3, 4, 5 of Gita, then the duty towards the world and the duty to do cross Maya both become the same. If we do not follow them, then the apparent duties that we do in the world, in contradiction to what is said in the Shastras, make us more and more Mayadhina, meaning they make us more and more entangled in Maya. That is what we are seeing in the vast majority of people in the world. They are all running. You ask them why you are running. They will say, in front of me, 10 people are running. No? That's why I am running. There must be something. That's why they are running. They have no idea why they are running. Because tell me, if you are a Karodapati, you have got a 5-bedroom house, okay? Is it that you are going to keep alarm every 2 hours? Because I have got 5 bedrooms, no sir. So I have to sleep in all 5 bedrooms. So I'll keep alarm every 2 hours, go bedroom to bedroom and sleep. No. You will sleep only in one bedroom. In that bedroom, you got king size bed, 8x4 bed, king size. Will you be able to sleep like this? You cannot. You have to sleep in one corner, 3x6 only, no choice. So we have no idea why we are running in the world. I'm not saying don't be successful. Don't mistake me. Be as successful as you can, but find out whether you are possessed of this ghost called possessiveness. That is Maya. That is the problem. Am I possessed by this ghost called possessiveness? If yes, my possessions are not outside. They are all here. Expensive real estate rented for free. Here they are sitting inside my mind. If my possessions are outside and I'm aloof from them, detached from them, no problem. Yeah.
Wonderful. One of the audience is asking you, requesting you to show your email ID again because they could not note it down.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can note down the email ID. Here it is. Yeah. That is the email ID. You may please note it down and connect with me whenever you want. Yeah. If there are no other questions, then we can.
Yes.
It remains for me to thank you, Nitinji, for this opportunity. And thank you very much for enabling me to revel and enjoy in the amazingness of our scripture. So thank you sincerely.
It is our fortune. We are fortunate to have you here, Srinivasanji, and I look forward to have you on more sessions in the future also on many interesting topics like this. I think we don't have any more questions. You can close the screen now. I believe they might have taken a note of your email ID. Yeah. Can you please stop the screen share? Yeah.
Sorry?
Can you please stop the screen share?
Yeah. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll stop the screen share. Yeah. Thank you.
Again, on the behalf of the entire Advaita Academy and all our viewers, I thank you for making time. And it was a wonderful session, fascinating session. And I hope more and more people will take up a more serious study on Vedanta, either with you or with their teachers in their own cities. It's wonderful. Thank you again. Viewers, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates about our upcoming events. With this, we conclude this weekend with wisdom session. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha.
Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Thank you very much. Jai Shri Krishna.